Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving Shorty, and it is actually Comics in 5 Minutes. Yay! Feels like it's been a while since we've been able to do this kind of thing normally, but even this week, I've only got 2 new things on the rack. There is another one, but we've kind of sold out-ish. I've got it under the counter for a customer. So at the moment, it's looking like I'm going to review today Deadbox from Vault Comics, Last Fight Out by Dark Horse tomorrow, and then maybe May's book on Friday. That's kind of it. That's all I've got for you. But since I have got you here, I assume, I am going to review it. Deadbox. And I really like it. It's from written by Mark Russell, but from Vault Comics, who are still impressing me with what they're choosing to put out. They're being brave in the kind of way that the big publishers won't do, but they're also not in just the kind of way that like Scouts and Behemoth are, where it feels like they're pushing the boundaries in their own little way. Carving out a little niche for themselves of actual cerebral, interesting comic books. Scouts are doing kind of big over-the-top kind of stories, which are great. And Behemoth are doing lots of real oddity, weird stuff, which is also brilliant. Vault let you think a little bit more about stuff, and that's a very, very good thing. Because this is a story kind of split in multiple parts. There's at least 2 main focuses of the narrative. They may interconnect, they may not. There are other branches from it which may weave back in, we don't know. And sometimes that would bug me. Ambiguity is a strange thing. Every once in a while, it's just down to the fact that a story hasn't been very well written. A character hasn't been fully fleshed out. There's not been enough thought put into why somebody does something within a narrative, and you kind of have to hand wave it off later on, or just leave questions unanswered. Sometimes, though, you get the sense that it comes down to the fact that there is more going on than there's on the page. So it's left on purpose to be discovered down the line. And I think that's what's happening with Deadbox. Because when I first started reading it, my original thought, well, actually, before I started reading, my first thought was this is going to be some kind of horror anthology where they're going to have this red box, or dead box as they call it, with these movies in, which are going to be their own horror stories. Then I was reading it, and my thought was well, actually, maybe this is going to be some Indian burial ground thing, and the red box is going to be haunted and just murder people for some reason. And my reason for thinking that one is because it doesn't take long to actually really start deconstructing the American dream and American supremacy at that point, American idealism, exceptionalism, in fact, is the word I'm looking for there. There is repeated statements throughout this comic book which pull apart that myth, which Superman writers at the moment have been doing, and even some Batman and other such superheroes, Captain America as well, looking at this idea about why people in America think it is the best place, why it is their place, why they have a manifest destiny, and pulling that apart by looking at the way these Americans act to other people in the same area or people from other areas. Basically, how American exceptionalism is taught in schools, and the idea that freedom matters more than anything. There's an entire bit in this book where they pull apart the idea of being free to be stupid, and people who argue that for it that much may let freedom slide, but they'll certainly campaign for stupidity to still be a thing. And can't help feel that that's a touch on the nose, but the way it's delivered in the comic book is far more interesting than just me saying it. This is professionally written stuff, not just a dude talking about comic books in a store. It's done brilliantly. When all that is going on, you've got a gas convenience store owner whose father is dying. She was supposed to go to college but couldn't make it. There's a really nice little backwards and forwards between her and some random dude about what college is actually providing ways of education. And then she's watching a movie, a sci-fi movie, which is actually a kind of cool high concept discussion of interstellar travel and how it would affect people. But it's a movie that doesn't exist except in the comic book. And they make a note of that. They actually say, I've looked into the movies that are in this Deadbox, and there is no reference to them anywhere. Maybe the people are just so starved for entertainment. There's not even any Wi-Fi in this city, let alone a theatre, that they'll take any movie they can get. And that just adds to the whole, well, actually, is this an anthology? Are these stories going to be part of it? Or are they just a backdrop to it? There was a point right at the end where there is a very tenuous link between what happened in the movie and what happened in the story. But there's so many other threads going on and so many unexplored ideas that I think to say that is the connection is to sell it short. It's to not appreciate what they're trying to do in this comic book. And going for the simplest, easiest explanation instead of allowing yourself to be dragged along and experience it. And I've hit 5 minutes, but I'm going to very quickly talk about artwork. Sorry, I almost dropped the pen there. I was thoroughly impressed with it, and it all started with one panel very early on, because that really reminds me of Dave Gibbons' Watchmen artwork. There's quite a lot of it. There's lots of very good shots of cities, close-ups of people. There's even some quite nice sci-fi elements. I mean, the artist really does get a chance to stretch their legs on this one, and they are always up to the task. Never left me wanting. Thoroughly, through and through, enjoyable and challenging, which are two things I really, really want out of my comic books. That's it for me today, then. I'll be back tomorrow. Last Flight Out, a bit more sci-fi. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye. Alexa.